Hello, Hearth Spacers. Hello, those of you joining me on YouTube or on the blog. My name's Maggie Rose Cunningham, and I am here sharing Middle Earth readings with you for the week ahead, starting 16th of May. And it's feeling a little bit choppy out there. We had a delicious full moon in Nauthiz, which I believe in the UK was most visible between sort of 3 and 4 this morning, and I have to admit I was not awake at that time. So as normal, if you are joining me here live in the Facebook group, then please do share the rune that is coming up for you for this week ahead, and I'll look at how the planetary movements and your rune work together, how the flow of weird is working for you. And we will make a start. So do have a little saying hello in the comments would be incredibly helpful. I'm actually on a new computer today. I was experiencing Odin's chariot in retrograde, otherwise known as Mercury in retrograde, particularly strongly last week. We were talking about retrograde motion. I think that at the last live that I did, and the way in which the transition period can often feel very choppy and difficult, and I've certainly felt that that's the case. So I'm here equipped with a brand new computer in a brand new space, which it was so light I've had to do the curtains. So this is new. I've got my Odin's Raven on the wall here, which was created by Ted the Viking in Glastonbury, and I particularly love it. So that is making me feel homey within my new space. But bear with me if anything goes wrong with technology, because A, I'm getting used to a new computer, and B, I think Odin is still getting comfortable in his transition into Ingu's retrograde, the seed there with Ingu's. So the other things that are happening this week, so I've mentioned our Nauthiz full moon. So not only is it a Nauthiz full moon, the rune of need and necessity, which works very strongly with the lunar energy, with the energy of Mani's chariot, to support us in saying, you listen to your body. Listen to the instincts within your body. If your heart starts beating fast, in the moment, pay attention. If you get that little chill at the back of your neck, and you're like, oh, I'm not sure about this, pay attention. That's what this moon is bringing in. And it's also, a super moon. So it's a big moon. It's close to the earth. It's sort of often known as a blood moon as well, because it's going close to the earth, and the shadow of the earth makes it look like a blood moon. And the eclipse, which is what I should have said for this morning. This lunar eclipse energy, which our ancestors saw this energy as being the great wolf, chasing Mani's chariot and threatening to devour the moon. And it's said that our ancestors, you'll have heard me talk about this before, used to sort of bang on pans and shout to try and scare away the wolf. And this is something that I'm feeling very strongly, just in terms of all of the energies of the planets at the moment and how they're moving through the runic wheel, is this sense in which we've had this big shift coming through the last 2 years with, let's say, karmic stuff coming through, the waters of weird, the well of weird overflowing, and all of the old stuff that we thought we had buried or we thought that we got away with, coming up to the surface, and the god sort of saying, you need to look at this, pay attention. And all of that's been coming about, and we have felt sometimes felt quite helpless, particularly individually, felt quite helpless in the wake of this. And we've been working with that through Middle Earth readings now for a long time, looking at how can we step back into partnership with weird, how can we step forward, moving into our individual heroic destinies, the thing that each of us is here to bring about and shift on the planet. And what this week is talking about is saying that there comes a point when the waters are sort of receding. Hela's chariot is in retrograde at the moment, so that sort of pushing energy of everything coming forward is a little bit less there. It's a little bit less present. It's not absent, but it's not as present. There is interference. There's definitely interference. But the runes are saying, and the planets are saying, this is a time to reclaim and to do the thing that you need to do, to move through. There is a sense in which we need to sort of take responsibility at this point and say, sometimes the storm is all around us and we have to weather it and, sort of hunker down. And sometimes we have to be captains of the ship and we need to say, go forward, I know the way. We'll keep going. It's going to be okay, and sort of move forward through this. And what I'm certainly experiencing at the moment, and it might be the case for others of you, so I'll share this with you, is this sense of sometimes we have really big wins. I'm stepping more into my purpose and I have really big wins, and sometimes I have really big failures that match the size of the wins. So you have to take that decision for yourself as to whether your life is going to be a sort of flatline life. I don't have any big wins, but I don't have any big failures either. I'm just like la 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 going along on my line. I think I used this pen last time in Middle Earth readings as well. It's proving to be quite a useful rune tool. Oh no, it was in the Seership Masterclass, which is available for viewing on the Hearth Space. Or you can be like, I'm gonna bring my best, and I'm gonna shine, and I'm gonna stand out. I'm gonna say what I'm supposed to say. And sometimes it's going to hit that moment. I'm going to, score that goal, whatever it is. And sometimes it's going to go not so well. But you need to decide what life you want. What do you choose in this moment? The gods are asking us for that. Are you going to sort of sit in your hut while the wolf is devouring the moon, or are you going to go and bang your pan and hope that he doesn't come and eat you as well? You want to make your difference there a bit. So this full moon is saying, feel into your body, trust your instincts, which is also helpful for us when we feel like, yes, I am purpose-led, but my body is my compass and it will teach me whether is this a time to rest, is it a time to push through? Is it a time to trust? Is it a time to not trust? We do have our equipment, our navigational equipment, our body, our runes, all of these things to help us so that we can step forward in that sense. And then on the 22nd, we have... we're going to be moving into Freyja's Hall, Folkvang. Now you'll remember that I said that Odin's chariot is in retrograde and he's in Inguz, the rune of the seed and gestation. So he's like down in the earth doing his thing. And that means that when warriors, and I want to take that as a sort of a big encompassing term for people who are fighting for their cause in whatever way they need to, that when they need support and guidance at this point, Freyja's probably a good place to go to. So Freyja's Hall is also a destiny for heroic souls, for warrior souls. So she's there and she's providing that advice and guidance as well from her hall, Folkvang, calling you into that sense of your heroic nature as well. Now I just wanted to do a little bit of a recap as well of some of the other planets and what they're doing. So I've mentioned Hela's chariot is in Perthro at the moment. The rune of weird and change and mystery and song and transformation and all of these things going on, and that's why we've been having a lot of global level change and transformation. But she's in retrograde at the moment, so it's slightly less. Suna's chariot is also in Inguz, so we have Odin in Inguz, and he's going to be there for a while because he's been in retrograding, and he's going to go back, so he's going to stay in Inguz for quite a long time on his journey into the depths of the earth. And Suna, the sun, is also in Inguz. Now then we have Frigg's chariot. I mentioned Frigg, so she's there available as well. So she's there offering partnership too. Freyja might offer more of a sort of sense of inspiration and motivation. I'm really struggling right now. So if you need a friend, Frigg is your woman. If you need a cheerleader, Freyja is your woman. And you can work with them. So with Frigg, you could actually use the Elwaz rune, this rune here, and you could call on her in that way. I'm really sorry, I'm trying to work on the light there. There we go. You can actually envisage that and envisage her, and just ask for her blessings and maybe imagine her hands on your shoulders is a really nice way of doing that as well. With Freyja, you can call on her hall at this point because we're moving on the 22nd, as I say, into Folkvang, and we'll be there for about a month. So she's there and she offers connection not just to like your warrior self and not just to her wisdom, but also to the ancestors. We're going to move through Inguz and into Athala with Odin's chariot, with the sun, with Suna's chariot. And when this happens and we're in Freyja's hall, that sense of connecting with our ancestors, not in the way that comes sort of later in the year where we are providing sort of honouring and reverence. It's a more active relationship at that point, and it's recognising ourselves as members of that ancestral chain. I find it a really lovely time to go walking in my local cemeteries and graveyards, and to sort of commune with the dead and recognise that, one of the things that what is it that we share? What is it that we share? What do they wish for us? What would they say if they could see us right now? What words of encouragement would they have? So there's stronger access to them as well through Folkvang and through Freyja's Hall. So then we also have Loki's chariot in Suelo. So there's a bit of mischief going on there. And I do think that perhaps some of the sort of zappy, now this is going to go wrong in an unexpected way, Loki energy is playing out through Suelo, as well as, and this is going to go incredibly right in an unexpected way, is also playing out with Loki's chariot. It's unpredictability. There is, a lot of unpredictability there, because there's a trickster energy and a giant energy as well. There's sort of chaotic energy of Jotunheim, and the Suelo rune is a sort of moving forward rune into purpose, and so curveballs as well as home runs can be expected through this time. And then we have Ud's chariot. Ud, the goddess of the past, is in Lagus. So she is, in many ways, she is combining with Hela. But what she's doing in Lagus, the rune of water, is whereas Perthro is bringing up this energy of weird that's sort of coming up, and I talked about karma, Ud offers us healing. So she's saying, when you're doing that ancestral work, open up to healing. Allow that watery energy to come through and to cleanse and to heal and to renew. So again, if you feel that need, I really need restoration and healing and succor, you can call on Ud for that, and you can work with the Lagus rune to do that, which I don't have the Lagus rune to hand right now. And then we've got 3 planets in Bacano. So Bacano here, the rune of the divine feminine, the rune of renewal and rebirthing, and it's coupling really strongly with the Ingu's energy of the seed. You might see it as being like the seed in the earth, but also that which grows from the seed. So it's this partnership of Ingus and Bacano that comes through really strongly. So we've got Tyr's chariot in Bacano, the sense of the divine masculine working in service to the divine feminine. We've got Aegir's chariot in Bacano as well. That sense in which all of us at some point return down into that space of the mother, who is both the bringer of life and the bringer of death. Aegir's wife, Ran, is known for drawing the souls of sailors and down into her nets and drawing them down into the sea. And it is that recognition that there is part of us that is descending and adventuring and looking for a renewal. And there's always part of us that is also holding that space and can hold that for others as well, and be the sustaining, nurturing force, and can sometimes be there, I've got you and I'm safe, and you're and provide comfort, and can sometimes be the sort of slightly harder mother energy. So, Aegir, there is a sense of that collective unconscious that comes there. So one of the things that he's sort of pointing me to here is to say there are times when you will need that Bacano support. Look for it where it's being offered out. And there are times when you need to be that Bacano support, when do others need something of you as well. Trust your subconscious mind to bring those and recognise that as an important role. And then we have Thor in Bacano as well, so the earth, which again very much brings in this idea that our renewal, the renewal that we are experiencing as a species, is tightly bound up with our relationship with the earth, and that whatever purpose each of us must have individually, there is a call from the gods, from the earth, to enter into deeper divine relationship with the earth and recognize ourselves as part of the earth. And Thor is so much the holder of that energy, drawing us into that, his deep protective energy and his deep love for the earth, which for those of you who are either in the hearth space or you wanted to join the hearth space, our January classes were all about Thor, and so much came through, particularly in the sacred story about his relationship with the earth and why that was so important to him, and the reciprocal relationship between the protector Thor and the protected, the earth, and then the other way around, the earth is also what he needs. Let's see. So what have we got? So hello, Trish. You have got Suelo. So I've mentioned Suelo a little bit with Loki's chariot. So a bit of the ability to maybe harness that energy a little bit, and to recognise that sometimes we don't lead through sort of saying, "I'm this way," and always having to be serious. Sometimes we can lead through humour and play, We can share, our vision for the world in a joyful, humorous way, and sort of gentle, bubbling, rippling energy that can come out. So for me, that's about saying, harness your playful trickster, not necessarily, as full on, disruptive as Loki, but recognizing that Suelo is a very flexible, adaptable rune. And it says to us, if you've been in one energy for too long, try something different. If this isn't working, try something different. Keep on moving is what it's asking us to do there. Stacey says, I figured it out. I'm here. Good morning. Good morning, Stacey. Lovely to see you. Esther, you've got Ansus for the week. So the rune of the breath and the divine and communication. Oh, I feel as if Odin is speaking a little bit there. Even in his absence, he's sort of saying, you've got this, Esther. I trust you to be that voice. Trust that the words that you have are the right words. Let yourself speak. Let yourself share. Trust that there is wisdom inside you. And he's saying, and I know there's wisdom inside you, Esther, because I put it in there. So let it out, is what he's saying a little bit there. In my absence, Esther, hold the fort, is what Odin is saying. So allow yourself to speak. Find as many opportunities as you can to share what's in your heart, and trust that more and more. Almost as if we spend a lot of time formulating our words. And if rune practice has taught me anything, it's that it's often the energy of the process of the breath forming shape and sound that has the impact. I was a speaker at Hexham Congress over the weekend, which was a wonderful event, and I must find out if recordings are available of it. And many of the speakers were German speakers. I think there was a French speaker as well, 3 English speakers. And I did go to some of the other sessions, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm good at languages. I should be good at languages, and I did study French and German, but I've forgotten much more than I knew. I seem to be much. I find it much easier to work with languages that are dead, basically, as far as I can tell. But I remember sitting in one session and just going, I'm just going to close my eyes and let the words do the work. And I got so much from that session, and I understood so little of it, and it actually really didn't matter, because that speaker was holding such a powerful space for everybody, for all of those participants, that I was just like, let her words transform me. So speak from that place, Esther, just by speaking, knowing that whatever is going to come is going to need to come. Wunyo this morning, says Lisa. Wunyo to you, Lisa. The rune of joy. Oh, there's a real sense there of almost, I want to say to you, Lisa, can you go on holiday this week? Wunyo is so sort of saying, don't just don't worry about, all of these other things. Actually, it's these sometimes large changes and things of import start off very small. They start off with a whisper. They start off with a flicker. And Wunyo often starts that way, and we mistake it and think that it's like a gentle rune. It can be gentle, but it can also grow from this little flicker into this sense of its energy just pouring over us and flooding us, and we become filled with ecstasy, which is one of its meanings, that sense of being in ecstasy. And I think the Wunyo rune is actually really it's linking to me with Oud and that sense of healing that we were talking about, that the Wunyo rune is offering healing and saying, even if you can only take a small moment. I'm actually literally imagining you standing here and eating, standing here right next to me, standing like in your kitchen or somewhere and eating this like tiny, delectable cake. I like to think about it as the sort of cake that I always imagined really existed as a child. When like Roald Dahl would speak about these things, or Enid Blyton. Anyone who's with the Magic Faraway Tree, and they eat these amazing things that just sort of explode and different things in their mouth, and they're all wonderful and fantastic, like magic cake. That's why I'm imagining you there with your magic cake, eating your magic cake and just going, and going, that's all I need right now. It's this. You know? So I wish that I could send a magic cake to you, Lisa, but it's looking for those moments and saying, actually letting yourself sink fully into that moment and really feeling into what could give me that. And it's very sensory. Winnow isn't always sensory, but that's what I'm getting, is this sense of sensoriness. Sensoriness, is that a word? So, beautiful hand cream on your skin, perfume, flowers. Now, I'm just thinking of all the things that I would like, let's be honest now, Lisa. But, it's those sorts of things. It's delighting your senses and recognizing that that's actually an important form of powerful healing for you this week. Cheryl, you have Hagalaz on its side for the week. Ooh, Hagalaz on its side. I have to feel into that a little bit, Cheryl. I was saying that, I can't remember which group I was saying it to. When I do this and I'm shifting, it's because I'm kinesthetic in terms of my feeling into my intuition. So I'm moving out of Lisa's cake into whatever it is that Hagalaz on its side wants to speak to for you. So I am actually seeing Hela, goddess of the underworld. And I'm remembering with the Hagalaz room, which if I can find it, I will, because it might be helpful for people. So Hela is a goddess who has her face and her entire body, actually. One half is, it's beautiful, living, vibrant flesh. And the other half is decaying corpse-like, putrefying flesh. Here we go. So this is Hagalaz rune. So if it's on its side, it looks like this. And I'm imagining her face sort of being divided in this sense, and this Hagalaz being like that, that place of division. And she is so present and so powerful and so unapologetic about who she is and what she's there to do. And some people might come and view her and be afraid. Some people might come and view her and be angry or disturbed. You know what? Hela doesn't care. No, she really does not care. There is a sense with Hela of almost like a despising of that type of judgment energy. Of when Odin is said to have thrown her down from Asgard down into Helheim, and she just claims it, and she's like, fine, well, I'm going to be a queen, I'm going to be a great queen, and people are going to want to be here, and it's going to be fantastic. And there is no resentment, and there is no victimhood. Never, ever, ever does she claim the part of victim. She's always standing in her power. And I think that is what she is asking you to step forward into there, Cheryl, is to simply be you. And if there is a struggle, recognize that actually asking Hela to come, and she doesn't often speak, actually, sometimes she does, but a lot of the time she is just there, and it's that gaze, and she's saying, meet my eye, stand and look at me and meet my eye. Stand and look at me as an equal, and then I will know. Then I will truly see you. When you bring every part of yourself to me, then I will truly see you. So she's very good, actually, for practicing that, because she can take any of our, any pain, any suffering, anything that we bring. Yep, and that too. So it's very much for me about not even acceptance, it's more than acceptance. It's not celebration either. It's almost like just a witnessing, like a divine and sacred witnessing of the self, is what I'm seeing there. Morning, Michelle. Suzanne, hi Suzanne, and thank you for collecting everybody's runes, because I know that we are at different times than what we are normally at. Just another disruptor there, making things difficult for you in the mix. So, Alga's for you, Suzanne. I'm almost feeling this sense of claiming a rebirth here, Suzanne. Perhaps that's because, we just had the Hagalaz and the Hela energy, but I'm feeling that sense of the Alga's rune literally drawing you upwards like a bird flying up from the base of the world tree, higher and higher and higher, right up, into the realm of the gods, and allowing that to happen for yourself. So visualizing that, visualizing this energy of the branches of the trees and you becoming that, and allowing yourself energetically to expand into every tiny little nook and cranny, out there in the cosmos, out there in the nine worlds. Because there is, something that you are here to bring. And because, we are all, we're all energy workers, visualizing that sense of your presence being, everywhere, and that you're reaching out everywhere, extends your reach. So it extends that reach. So it's energetically doing what you're then going to be doing, in the mundane world, let's say. It's a form of manifestation, we're calling it. So really using that alga's energy and harnessing it. And I'm just seeing like that bird, almost like a sort of Valkyrie energy as well, sort of like soaring up the world tree, way, up into the sky for you. Alga's for me, Marie Manaz. So we've got a little theme here of sovereignty going on that we, I think started with Hella, sort of saying this sort of the witnessing, and then Suzanne is sort of stretching up and claiming her space. And I think that this does go into this theme that I've been talking about, a sort of reclamation. What is it that we're being asked to reclaim at this point? So for you, Marie, I would suggest this is almost a form of power retrieval, but you can do it writing as well. You can use writing and you can use journaling as well, to just say, I'm ready to scoop up all of the tools and all of the experiences and everything that I need to bring it, to bring what I need to bring out into the world. So, draw those to you. So you could do some journaling. You could just literally allow memories to surface. Imagine that you're sitting like maybe by the well of weird. You're saying, I'm ready for these to come up. Close your eyes. Prepare that intention. Use the Manaz rune. Actually draw the Manaz rune on the page, or imagining it on your third eye. And then imagining those memories surfacing, and then you can, if it's helpful for you, you can write them down, and as they come, and just allow them to surface, and knowing that each memory contains within it a seed of an experience, a piece of knowledge, a skill, an ability that you have, that you are being asked to claim for yourself at this point with your Manaz rune. Chen has Feyu. You've read Feyu before, Chen, haven't you? I'm fairly certain that you have. There's a theme here. Again, feeling into the world tree. Okay, so this is what I'm feeling for you in the world tree. Although our ancestors were said to be trees, Ask and Embla, we are different to trees in a few fundamental ways. Obviously, we walk and they do not. But one of the ways in which we are different is that trees don't heal in the same way that we do. So they, if they're scarred or wounded on the outside, the next layer of wood sort of grows over the wound, so the wound doesn't heal. The tree just keeps growing around it, and the sap then sort of flows around it. That's not the way that we work as humans. We need that Feyu energy to be flowing through every part of our system. So I think that again, in this spirit of reclamation, it's saying, what memories, what woundings, what experiences have you had in your life that tell you that wealth, well-being, luck, life force, all of those things are not available to you. Anything that holds that story of this is not available to you. And imagine, you can almost imagine yourself, if you're good at visualization. If you're not, then you just ask that question and then say, I release this. You can write it down, you could burn it, whatever you want to do in order to release that. You can speak it out loud. I release this. You can also imagine yourself as a tree and say, where is that place in my body where a belief is housed that I don't have the access to, that Feyu energy, the life force, the sap. And then imagine your blood, your human blood, which obviously flows to each part of your body, flowing and bringing that Feyu energy there and clearing that and saying, I'm not a tree, I'm a human being. Return that energy to the tree, to the world tree. And you could literally do that with your hands, like draw it out and push it into the tree in that sense. A really powerful form of healing, and it's removing blocks to your Feyu force that are there inside your system, I believe. Rebecca, you have Rado. So some of the runes at the moment are sort of saying, there are lots of energies telling us to go up or go down, or try this, reclaim this, do this, do this. The radar rune, I think we had this last week with somebody else. It was the taking one step in front of the other, not worrying about the overall destination. You've already got that full moon in Nauthiz energy pulling you in the right direction. So it's just saying what's the next step, and what's the next step, and what's the next step again. There is also this sense of it's almost a sense of thinking about rhythm as my rhythm is that I take 10 steps and then I stop and I look around. Somebody else's rhythm might be that they take 30 steps and then they stop for longer and then they look around. I was talking about this again with retrograde motion, that Odin goes retrograde more frequently but for less time. That's his rhythm. So there's something there as well about just reclaiming that even more deeply for yourself at this point, and owning that rhythm for yourself with the radar rune. So and using that as a study, in a sense, of sort of saying, okay, how many steps forward can I take before I need to X, before I need to stop and take stock, or before I need to replenish my energy, or before I need to bring something new in, that sort of Bacana energy, before I need inspiration to come into my life again for me. And it's just recognizing that, because different people have a different way of relating to that. So let's say, I know that for you are somebody who's very driven to improve and evolve and learn. And it's almost bringing a little bit of attention to that and saying, how many steps of action can I take before something in me goes, and now I need to learn something else? And this is, again, very much, I think, connecting to the full moon in Nauthiz energy, is of saying, okay, bring some attention to that and recognize whether it's a need or whether it's a desire. And this is, I think, about managing your energy. It's the sense that I've got there. Troy, you have Uruz, the rune of the aurochs. And again, it's really nice that they've come through. So we've had Rado, which is the sort of rhythm and that moving forward. And Uruz, I'm feeling this, almost hearing like the roar of the aurochs now along the plain. Imagine this sort of, this mighty aurochs there, who senses, it might be sensing danger. It might simply be proclaiming, I am here. This is my land. I was talking to people about accepting themselves, being witnessed, stepping into sovereignty. This is slightly different. This is that raw, primal power of, I can roar just because I am. Aurochs doesn't wait for permission. And it doesn't sell, should I be roaring right now? Do you think that I disrupt anybody else? It doesn't do that, It proclaims itself into the space. So what I'm saying for you, Troy, is perhaps actually doing some ceremony along those lines. I don't know if you've got a drum or something that, you don't have to sort of stand in your front room baying like an aurochs, although I would really like to see that. I think it might be quite fun. But it is that sense of what can you do to simply stand really grounded, just like the aurochs would do, and then claim that space. All of this that I see is not even, it's his. I'm saying him with the aurochs. It could be a her, but it's just almost like the desire we were talking about with the Nauthiz rune, to know what roaring out into the air and into the world is like. This is what it's like to stretch my power. This is what it's like to push myself, into the space of my limits. Is what I'm sensing there. Felicity, you've got Hagalaz, so I'm assuming that's upright and not on its side. And you have Hagalaz coming again. Is there anything new that I can add for you? It's interesting as I'm seeing Hagalaz, although, I know it's like the hail seed and things, I'm actually seeing autumn leaves blowing across the landscape for you. And I think it's that sense that when we're deeply in tune with ourselves, we know when it's time. And so sometimes when you're in the change maker role, when you are the sort of Hagalaz energy bringing change, it's recognizing that at least those, those people or those pieces or that part of the land, or whatever it is that you are there to clear, wants that to happen, knows that it is time, knows that it is ready. And it's almost trusting, therefore, that what you're doing is not an act of destruction, it's an act of service, is the sense that I'm getting. That the leaves, were beautiful and glorious upon the trees, and then they fall and they have this moment where, with the reds and the greens and the yellows and the golds, and then they start to wither and they start to fall, and they want to move on. I've been this and I've done that, and I want to move on, and I'm going to, what is it that I'm going to be next, is the contribution. And so that Hagalaz energy is of service to that. So I hope that's helpful to you. Joe, you have Iwaz. It's interesting that we've been talking about trees, haven't we, and leaves. So Iwaz is much more that that stable, unchanging part. Yeah, I'm just feeling into that a little bit for you there, Joe. I'm just seeing this quite slender tree. It's not like the world tree. And again, I'm feeling into the same as with Felicity, where it's almost a sense that the object itself wants to speak. So the leaves wanted to speak. And this is actually something that our ancestors used to do quite a lot. In their poems, they would speak as if they were an object. And the sense is like of you being the tree. Is it you being the tree, or is it something around you being the tree? Maybe all is one within this. But it's the defensive energy that I'm feeling of Iwaz, the staff, there by your side. And I do feel, I'm not sure that it is your energy. I think it is almost the Iwaz rune saying there are people and places and objects and experiences whose purpose, not necessarily their sole purpose, but part of their purpose is to support you. And by letting them support you, you are letting them fulfill their purpose. So you don't have to say thank you. You could say thank you, that'd be nice. But it's recognizing that, again, also it's almost similar to Felicity. It's almost like instead of us thinking about, oh, somebody's done me a favor, or I need to feel guilty because I've got support. I'm going to have to reciprocate something back there. It's very different energy with this Iwaz rune coming forward of saying, no, what if the sole purpose of this, this slender tree here was to become, the staff, and to say, yeah, that's what I want, that's what I'm destined to be, that's what I want to be. And so it's a different way of looking at support. Might also be possibly also looking at, again, at your life and going, okay, what are the experiences that for whatever reason, like negative or positive, have resulted in something that was supportive and powerful for me, and letting them go, saying, they've done their thing. And I say negative or positive because sometimes, if you think about soul contracts, there's like this theory which I quite like with soul contracts, that before we're born, we make these contracts with our with other people who are going to be born into the same time period as us, and we say, I'm going to teach you X or Y, I'm going to teach you to value yourself. And it might be that comes through like really powerfully, I see you, that you're brilliant, you're great. Or it might be that it comes through not a very nice way at all, whereby they don't see you and they're insulting you and being mean and horrible and bullying and all of those things, and then but either of them results in you finding your value. So there's a reclamation piece again. I've been talking about this as the theme of the things that have supported you in your life, and recognizing that they were meant to be. They were meant to be, and it's not even a case of you deserving it. It's just a case of it's already promised. The promise is already made. So accept that support. And then Darren, you have Tewaz, rid of victory and truth. Something on the horizon. Vision that perhaps only you have. And Tewaz is saying, move towards it, but remember that the hunter, or the archer, that's what I was looking for, the archer takes their time. They put their sights on what it is, and then when they're ready, they unleash the the arrow out into the world, and they trust that it's going to fulfill its purpose, it's going to reach its destination. And as I'm saying that, I'm seeing you actually there again. We've had this a few times now, the runes like on the third eye, which I think is important, this sense of reclaiming that sometimes the runes speak to us and sometimes we see through them. And it's almost like when we position them here, they're giving us a new perspective on life. And the Tewaz rune is reminding me that we often, we make actions, we take a decision, and it's like an arrow being unleashed out into the world, and sometimes it hits true, sometimes it doesn't go the way that we had anticipated it was going to go. And the world judges us based on where the arrow ends up. But that doesn't mean that the intention was any different when you let it fly. Arrow 1, arrow 2, arrow 3 were all intended for the same target. And part of that, again, I'm thinking back to the Hagalaz rune that we had, the sort of on its side Hagalaz rune, is recognizing that every time you take an action that takes you closer and closer to that purpose, even if no one else sees it, it is making a change for you on the inside. It is it's giving you that experience. It's helping you to go, oh, actually the wind is blowing a little bit to the right, so I'm going to adjust a little bit more, and I need to bring my shoulder back a little bit more. And it's strengthening your intentions, and it's strengthening your belief that you can achieve the result. It's very, very different to the way that we're taught to be in the world, that mistakes are just things that we need to overcome in order to achieve the goal. Oh, I'm feeling so ashamed and so embarrassed that I've made this mistake. Whereas actually every single mistake is another step towards the goal. So it's making sure that at the end of each day, when you have take those actions, similar to Rebecca in that sense, take those actions, but for you it's seeing them as arrows. Let those arrows fly towards the mark that you know to be true, and claim that in your heart, and know that you took those steps, and that you can just celebrate that, and that not all of the outcomes are going to be, not every arrow hits the red target in the middle every time, but some of them will. And every time you loose an arrow, you are becoming a better archer. It's very descriptive. I hope that helps you, Darren. Michelle, you've got Kinaz. So we've got the creator energy of Kinaz, the smith at the forge. I'm seeing the smith at the forge, and the water, the water that where we cool down whatever is being made in the mold. It's like that moment when I've been working away, and there's that flicker inside the smith when she knows that the piece is ready. Plunge it into the water and be fine with it and be okay with it. And I think with the Kinaz rune, it does sometimes talk about perfectionism, but I think for you it's actually saying recognize this as a skill for yourself, and honouring that within yourself, this sort of creative process. And sometimes people talk about creativity in the sense of, inspiration just came and it sort of fell in my head, and I was like, oh, I created something. But Kinaz actually often isn't that. It's often, the application of a process over time. It's artistry, and it's knowledge, and it's the an expertise, and it's saying, actually, I know how to choose the best material, and I know how to build up the fire until it gets to the right temperature, and I know how to have an idea in my head of what I'm creating, but I'm also able to adapt when the metal goes into the forge to recognize that actually what it's forming, if I work with it, is going to be better than me trying to force it in the right way. It's mastery of the creative process. And I think what Kinaz is asking you to do, Michelle, is to recognize your own form of mastery when you create, when you put your mind to something and you do something, recognizing that your personal superpowers in that sense, and to celebrate them, because this is all about reclamation. And it might be because it's about reclamation that it is saying, actually, there were things that I used to do in the past a lot and I'm not doing them now, but it's not I'm assuming it's the right way up, for want of a better word. So for me it's positive. It is about sort of saying, yeah, you've got this. It's just recognizing it. Hi, Catherine. Lovely to see you. Stacey, you've got an Ewaz Merc stave. So Frigg has come into my mind there. She's, Frigg's chariot in Ewaz at the moment. And with the Merc stave, I'm just feeling this really strong sense of the energy sort of drawing downwards. Oh. I think it's a let people come to you energy is what I'm getting, Stacey. It's almost saying, you know how we're like, oh, I have to go out into the world and I have to commune with people and I have to, I have to be moving forward. And Ewaz is often a rune of great speed and movement, but because it's in the Merc stave, I'm almost getting the sense of imagining like the seeresses within the mounds who are there, and we know that like Odin and Freyja and like various other people, and we can do this ourselves. They travel to the burial mounds of the seeresses, no, seeresses, and they ask for guidance and they ask for wisdom, and it's sort of saying, yeah, recognize that there are times when you are the seeker, when you're going out there, and there are times when actually you need to recognize that you own and possess value that others want, and you need to let them come to you rather than you being like, I'm going out there in the world and I'm seeking them. And there is this sense for me of imagining like the seeress actually sort of on her knees on the road, sort of, I've got to keep moving forward, I've got to keep moving forward. And it's that moment when she goes, actually, here is where I will be, here is where I will lay my sacred bones, and I will not move from this place. And yet others will come to me and they will seek that wisdom from within. So it's I think it's about rest, but it's also about recognizing that you have that wisdom and that others will come to you as well. You don't always have to be the one that takes that action. And main Perthrow for this week. Have we had Perthrow already? I don't think that we have. I've just talked about Perthrow in the context of weird. There's a playfulness, there's a playful energy with the Perthrow room, but it comes from quite a deep place. So whereas with Lisa we were talking about the Vunyo energy, those sort of moments of ecstasy, Perthrow is deeper, it's more solitary as well. There is that sense for me of actually just taking time to commune like with yourself, honouring the impulses that come through. I was talking about connection with the body. I'd really like you to try an exercise of, you can do this lying down, but you can also do it standing up, and you can play some delicious music, probably not like music with words, sort of floaty, delicious music. And just allow yourself to imagine that your body's becoming weightless. And as you breathe deeper and deeper, it's becoming weightless. And you see my arms sort of rising up now. And just feeling almost like this sense of being in a cloud. And then just allowing your body to move wherever it is called to move. And each time it does that, just each time you breathe, sinking deeper and deeper into your body once more. It's really tuning in, not even to the instincts or intuitions of your body about what's happening externally, only the instincts and intuitions about where your body might like to move next, or do I want to move my hip a little bit or my head to one side. Just take some time doing that, and it's a real deepening into yourself and your own power. Diane, you've got Isa, but Gibo wasn't far behind, so there's a little bit of a partnership of the Isa rune and the Gibo rune. I'm almost hearing the sort of crunching of the snow, or that cracking, not the cracking of, oh dear, we're in mortal peril cracking of the ice. I know I shared in the Hearthspace a while ago now a video, and I cannot remember who it's by, so if anyone can remember, pop it in the chat. The lady she goes out and she lies on the ice and she listens to the cracking of the ice, and I know we looked at that in one of the very early one of the story sessions or introductions in the Hearthspace, when we were looking at the ice and listening to the ice. And again, perhaps this is why you've come after Hannah here, and I can see that Aura's got Gifo or Gibu, Gibo or Gifu as well, same room, different name, after you. That there is this sense of surrender and just listening to the ice and recognizing that when it looks like stillness, it's not. It looks still, but it's not. And while this is happening, the Gibo rune is moving, and it's very, very slow, subtle movement that's occurring. And there's a rebalancing that's taking place because of this. I think that's why the Gibo rune has come forward at this point. But it's very peaceful. It's a very peaceful energy with the Isa rune. And again, there's a mindfulness. And whereas with Hannah it was a sort of mindfulness into herself, I think with you it's more of a mindfulness into doing meditation that's actually just listening to sound, listening to the sound around you, or just doing the mindfulness where you actually listen to your body. You go, oh, there's a little sort of pricking on my neck there, or but not moving, staying very still with it, and letting yourself sink into the understanding that each one of those tiny, tiny sensations is a rebalancing through Gibo, that the ice may seem as if it is immobile and what's the word, and will crack, but it's not going to. It's shifting. The ice can shift, and it's recognizing that shifting occurring. So Aura, you've got Gifu. And so with that one, whereas with Diane, that was obviously working in partnership with the Isa rune, you've got the gift there, the exchange and the promise. Maybe it's because of your name, which is a gorgeous name. I'm really feeling that sense of generosity, and that the Gibo rune does promote within us this generosity of spirit, this generosity of nature. And there is a sense for me in which the Gibo rune is going, oh, I love that so much. I just want to be in that wonderful energy of blessed abundance, that everything is flowing from me and it's wonderful. And it really doesn't want to look at the other side of it, of the and how is that coming back, and how is what I'm giving out into the world being rewarded. And to a certain extent, that's a good thing. There is a freedom within that with the Gibo rune. So I would suggest that what the Gibo rune is asking you to do is to celebrate that powerful generosity and the way in which, when we are in that flow state, abundance does come back towards us, and we do, without paying conscious awareness to it, we're in flow with the universe, and other things come back. And recognizing that that's a really powerful mode of being. But what Gibo is inviting you into is to look out into the world and look for its balance outside of you as well, to increase your sensitivity to its energies at play. The way in which, the energy of give and take, contracts given in exchange, promises made and kept. And it's asking you to be a witness to that out in the world, is I believe what it's doing. It's almost saying, I was saying how some people wear the runes, I'm suggesting that they wear the runes in order to look out in the world. It's almost saying that the Gifu rune lives inside you already, and it wants to look out of your eyes. So recognizing that perhaps there is a role for you to play in witnessing the positive and the negative at times flow of Gibo, when is it being offered out into the world, is actually a very beautiful gift that the rune is asking you to step into. So I hope that's helpful to you. That's an interesting one for me. Erica, you've got Athala, and we've been talking about ancestral energy and Freyja's hall with Folkvang coming through. And Catherine, I can see that you've got Athala as well. So there is that sense, I talked at the beginning of Middle Earth readings about recognizing that sometimes we honor the ancestors through quietness, through opening ourselves to them. The veils become thin and we call their voices into us and we honor them, through ceremony and through ritual. But that sometimes it's walking the path and being out, in the fields, and just recognizing that they trod there before us and that we're taking our own part in the great chain. That is the most powerful thing that we can do. there is also, and I'm actually, because they've come so close together, I'm doing this reading for both of you, but there are two parts to it, so you'll just have to feel into, I think, whether both parts are relevant to you or whether one is more though than the other. So there is that sense of, walk the land, recognize maybe that there are rituals that you bring into your everyday life that have been passed down to you, so it's bringing presence to that. But the other thing is recognizing your relationship to land and your relationship as a steward of home and hearth and land. That often when we have, those of us who have a thala in our birth runes, for example, are often called to be like keepers of legacy and keepers of land and stewards of land in that sense. But I'm feeling that perhaps that might be important either for both of you or for one of you. So it's not just about saying, oh, the ancestors walked this path before me and I'm doing the same. It is also about saying, what can I do to step more fully into being, a sacred steward of this land, even if it's in small ways. Okay, so Pearl, you've got Kina. So we've done Kina's already. It's that creatrix energy, and I think that still applies to you, that sense of honoring the creatrix in energy in you, honoring your process, and recognizing that the Kina's rune, that creativity is not just it can be great to go, yeah, I've got really creative energy because I've got loads of ideas popping through in my mind. But it's actually looking at all of the different stages of creativity and honouring them in you as well, recognising those within you. There's also a sense, Pearl, in which if you have, if you've ever, well, you may have, you may already make things, actually going and looking at them, if there's anything that you've ever made for yourself that you can wear, wearing that, if there's anything that you've ever drawn, taking it out, looking at it. So it's actually, there's a physical honouring as well, which has possibly come forward because of the Athala runes before in the reading. And I love the way that all of your runes combine and we get this sort of individual and collective weird weaving at the same time. So it's the sense of honouring the creatrix, you as creatrix, through your life as well. And you can do that through in connecting with memories and wearing or touching or feeling or listing as well. Esther, so thank you so much. Lots to think about. Start to speaking up. Oh, not something I'm good at. Oh, well, Odin wants you to get better at it. Suzanne, thanks. I got my Phoenix's wings yesterday on a journey to Muspelheim. Oh, that's so cool, isn't it? Pearl, so you've said, yes, Corner, Ken, they're all, the same words of sort of keen as is the original, like from the Elder Futhal first word, but all of these stem from them. So yes, that's in there too. Cheryl, that's beautiful, thank you, and follows on perfectly from Standing Your Ground last week, so that's wonderful. Trish says that's good for you. Shelley, you've got Athala as well. So I've talked about Athala for Erica and Catherine, so I've given two aspects to that. The only other thing that I might suggest for you, Shelley, is just to, I was talking about recognising yourself as being part of a sort of ancestral chain and walking the land. For you, it might also be worth doing some work on naming the ancestors. So just looking at your family tree and naming them. It's a very traditional thing to do within the Northern tradition. It's actually to sort of look at the family tree and speak the names of your ancestors. So rather than just sort of walking, you're speaking as well, as what comes through to me there. Michelle says, the lighthouse is the image I'm getting for Keenaz. Oh, I love that, Michelle. Yeah, no, I can feel into that as well. And we've got quite a few things there for Keenaz, and that sense of, well, I don't want to interpret it for you because you're getting the image of the lighthouse, but that what I'm feeling is that sense that, yeah, sometimes our creativity is a beacon for others as well, and lighthouses in themselves, I mean, are just like genius creations, aren't they? That real sense of us bringing our ingenuity to bear on a problem and remembering that that is creativity as well. It's not always artistry and beauty necessarily, it's often creating problems. Darren, hello everyone, apologies for being late. No problem, Darren, I expect that you've been here for a while now. Michelle, thank you, Maggie. I was definitely getting the light through water or fog feeling, and you really added to that. That's wonderful, I'm glad. Nemain, definitely going to try this. Feeling into the body. Oh, okay, so we've got there with the lighthouse there. We met and called each other lighthouse, and just above all our verbal communications totaled 90% about encouraging each other with the lighthouse. Since we last spoke, we have been lighthousing. Oh, I love that. That's wonderful. Diane as well, that real sense of quiet around you, so that's wonderful. Belle says, yes, I just got excited. And Shelley, I love that you're speaking to the ancestors' names. Wonderful. Well, I'm so pleased, and it has been wonderful to see you all as always. Such a pleasure, and thank you so many of you who turn up or who share your rooms with Suzanne. So you've lots of material for us to work on, because I know that there are people who watch this recording afterwards, and when you've got a rune that is the one that they've drawn, they get to feel into that wisdom as well. So wonderful to see you all as ever. I look forward to seeing those of you in the half space at our class on Friday, when we're doing an embodiment and meditation workshop with Tia, and I'm also doing the Friday workshop on healing with the runes. So we've got seership with the runes, and that's available in the half space group. So I streamed it into the half space group. I'm going to be doing the same with the healing with the runes workshop. If you attend in person, or if you register, and come to the Zoom, you get your questions answered because you're there in the chat box, and you get to, I've got sort of feedback, and I've got some lovely gifts there as well for people who come in person. But I know that that's not always possible for everybody, so that's why we're streaming them as well. So I hope to see some of you there. Wonderful. Goodbye, everyone. Have a lovely time. And Pearl is just saying, been a chaotic Friday the 13th, and retrograde energy and eclipses and all sorts. Yes, indeed, it was a bit full on. So with that, I shall probably go and have a lie down now. Mwah. Love to you all.